Welcome to the first in a series of four podcasts here at The Edge. I have, I want to say I'm very grateful to Mr. Fusco for bringing me in to host this little podcast about, I would say, parenting kids here in the complicated COVID digital age, right? And growing up sons and daughters that are confident and ready to have fun, play hockey, right? So this is the first in a series of four podcasts. My name's Jeff Levin from the Reconnection Project. I've been a counselor for 140 years, or is it 40, Bobby? 40, about 40 years. And I want to give Bobby and Scott a chance to introduce themselves, so I don't know.
I'm Scott Fusco. I'm one of the owners and the operator of the Edge Sports Center and the East Coast Wizards. Played a lot of hockey growing up in Burlington, Bellman Hill School. Played at Harvard University and U.S. Olympic team, and somehow ended up here. So I'm happy to be here working with kids, and it's been a great run for the past 15 or so years here.
My name is Bobby J. I'm one of the hockey directors here at the Edge for the East Coast Wizards and the Edge Sports Center. Similar to Scott, I'm from Burlington as well. Played at Burlington High and Canterbury School in Connecticut, and then Merrimack College. And I was fortunate enough after that to go on and play 10 years of pro hockey with stops in. I played a year in Sweden, in Europe, my first year out of college, and 10 years over here in IHL, AHL, and a couple games in the National Hockey League. Now I coach. I've coached at Harvard, coached in the pros for 6 years, and I'm currently also with my duties with the Edge. I'm coaching Middlesex School in Concord, Massachusetts.
Well, thank you, fellas. I played JV hockey at Newton South. We were 0-14 that year. It wasn't a lot. Actually, it was fun, but we didn't win a lot of hockey games. But
Wait a minute, you didn't win and you still had fun?
we did. We had a good time.
That's good.
We
That's
had
good
a good
news.
time. That'll be a good segue, right? So we're going to talk about the changes in our culture and what Scott and Bobby are seeing and what I'm seeing as a guy that works with a lot of sports teams. And we just want to do these four episodes, and if there's interest from you guys out there in Edgeland, we'll keep going. Maybe we'll invite some young people on here or parents or whatever we see fit. I mean, in my heart, I just want to give kids the same opportunity. I'll tell one story and then we'll get going. Must have been ninth grade, maybe around 1970, my mother's best friend worked as a school secretary in Newton, Mass. So she would get the call if there were a snow day. So Audrey would call my mother, and my mother would tell my brother and the fellas there's no school tomorrow. So we'd find out before everybody else. So it's snowing like crazy in 1970 over there in Newton, Mass. No call, right? So I'm thinking, oh man. I stay up till midnight. I'm listening to WBZ. We'll get the call. No call. Sun's coming up in the morning. The school superintendent knew something I didn't know. So we got school. First period, gym class. Girls over here, boys over here. Wally Birchler, who had a tryout with the Orioles, we all looked up to him. The gym teacher, he goes, fellas, you want to do gymnastics with the girls? What do you guys want to? No, we don't want to. He goes, why don't we go outside? It's beautiful. It's only 4 or 5 inches of snow. He says, let's go outside. We're like, go outside. Yeah, let's go. We'll play in the snow. We're 14. He gives a soccer ball to this kid, Andy Moore, who played soccer at UMass. He says, Andy, you make up the rules. Hurry up. We're cold. What are the rules? So we invent a game called rompage, which is a combination of soccer, football, rugby, and we're playing tackle, we're having the ball. I said to my mother that night, listen, I got to get up early at 6 and walk to school. We're playing rompage. My mother says, it sounds good to me, rompage. Yeah, I'll get up at 6, so can I make you breakfast? Don't worry about it. So we're getting up at 6, ninth grade. Played until the snow went away. I want to help kids, and I know Scott and Bobby want to help kids just have fun and enjoy the journey of childhood and not be so balled up with what I call outcome fever. Because we've seen too many kids gripping sticks too tight, and we want to help you in Parentland. We want to help you help us to make sure your kids play good hockey, get to the next level if they're ready, but just have a good time with it all. So let me ask you guys, your observations. You guys played way more hockey, obviously, than I did. What are the biggest changes you guys have seen in terms of the mentality of kids?
One of the big changes we see is, kids and parents seem to be always looking for the next thing. How do we get to the next level? and not enjoying the level that they're at. We start getting calls about tryouts in October. The season's just started, and people are already worried about what team they're going to be playing on next year.
I mean, not this year, but next
The
year.
following year. The
Yeah.
following year. And, I think the athletes are the most successful, the ones that sort of live in the moment, work in the game, get better, and then when that season's over, okay, now where am I? Last year at tryouts, I was at this level. Now maybe I'm at a different level, and we'll sort of take it from there. Instead of always worrying about the next game or the next tournament or the next season, rather than
So flesh that out
just
for
enjoy
me.
today.
I mean, how many phone calls do you get? How often do you see this in parents and children? Coach, next level. Now, how often do you see it?
I would say starting about this time of year, we get a lot. It's certainly several a week from people, but it starts in, like I said, probably October. People reaching out about playing on this team, I'm trying to figure out where I'm going to go next year, and so
And how old are these children that we're talking about?
I don't know, 10,
Yeah.
11, 12.
From the beginning up.
Yeah.
Well, comment too. What have you seen?
Yeah, I think that's.
I mean, I'm 140 years old. You guys are. If I may ask, when did you play over to Harvard? When did you graduate?
I graduated in 1986.
1980. When did you graduate Merriman?
88.
Okay, so you're 2 years different. So many changes you can't. But anyways, go ahead.
Yeah, well, I just agree with the fact that the expectations are set too high too early. Like, I think our parents, I'll speak for my own, got me into sports at a young age to have fun and to learn success, failure, keep me busy, keep me out of trouble, like meet other kids, all the competition, all the things that are really pure about sports for kids. I unfortunately, I think nowadays maybe it's a bit of it is the financial investment, but the expectations from parents, which ultimately the kids feed off of, feel the pressure to, well, my parents expect me to play on the top team. My parents expect me to be the best player on the in the tournament and go to the best school and get a scholarship. So I better deliver, And
Now you know the kids are feeling that because certain kids
I know
say it, or you can
they
see
say
it obviously.
both.
But
Yeah.
both.
We've been in it long enough. I think you see it, you just see it because how I see it is these kids come to the rink and you can see it. A lot of them they're not enjoying it. They're there because it's like a job to them,
Really?
Yes, really. And
Okay.
and so I see it. But also, I've coached at every age here, from learning to play hockey up to through the junior team, and I've coached college and pro. Like, there's guys in pro that are not enjoying it, So but that's a job. These kids are here to grow and develop, and I can see that they're not happy, and they tell me. The older kids will tell me.
What do you hear them saying, Bobby?
It's just it's too much pressure. It's not fun. I'm disappointed with the team I'm on. Like, I need to play with these guys so I can get seen more. And really, when it's real candid and the kids aren't like kind of stating their frustrations, they will open up to coaches when they trust us and let their guard down and say, you know what, I really, I just feel like my parents are upset with me if I don't, play well, or the ride home in the car would talk about, I'm sure. Those things we read all the time on stories of that and how detrimental it is to the kid. As a kid, as your child, but as an athlete too. Those things don't help. They don't help the kid.
Do you have anything to add to that?
I mean, one of the other things we see is there's a segment of our population of youth sports that is continually searching to be on the best team. And there's people out there that want to put together all the best players on one team and then go out and win every game, which I guess is fun at some level, but for development as an athlete, development as a person, it's not always good to have easy success. You learn more from the struggle and the journey than you do from the destination.
And the parents that want to assemble, how old might these children be that they're assembling the best team?
It starts at 7.
7?
Sometimes 7, 8 years old.
So one would think,
so a team goes 65-2.
and you
during
could
the year.
name teams, not that you should, but you could.
Yeah, absolutely. And I saw, I coached the Belmont Hill freshman team for 6 years, several years ago, and and I could see this. Like we had a team, we had a lot of guys that went to play in college, a lot that play in the NHL, and we probably lose 1 or 2 games a season. But I would say every time we got in a tough situation where we were losing, the players did not handle it.
Those boys at age 14, 15, they didn't handle it.
They would fracture. Like instead of pulling together, they'd like start sniping at each other. And my guess is it's because they haven't been in that situation very often. Because a lot of times they were on these super teams. When you're 65-2, you're not behind very often, right? So now all of a sudden we're behind, and they're all yapping at each other. And it's sort of like, guys, it's time to go play. Like this is what you should have learned all the way up.
But they hadn't learned it.
They hadn't learned that.
How did you, just curiosity, handle that as a coach?
Basically, say, guys, stop talking, start playing. You guys all tell me how good you are. Like, now it's time to show up and show people how good you are.
We're losing to Groton 3-0. What are you
gonna do about it? Like, don't tell me you're gonna do something. It's time to step up. And some of them did, and some of them didn't. But like,
have you tracked any of those kids, Scotty, through the years? Are they happy playing pro, making $1 million? Are they some of those guys? Do they figure it out?
Some of them are still playing. They're doing well.
Yeah.
I don't know whether they're happy or not. I don't have that kind of contact with them. Right. But I guess it depends on the day. That's pro sports.
Now you guys between you have 4 or 5 children, right?
Mm-hmm. 5.
Yeah,
5 daughters.
2 daughters.
Yeah,
and 3 daughters.
Yep.
Did you guys get caught up in the what I call the new parenting playbook? Like, honey, you got what the heck? Or were you able to keep it pure? Just go have fun. We'll see what happens.
I tried really hard because of my background as a player. Yep. I was a pretty successful player and sort of well-known.
Was he more
player.
well-known than I was at Newton South?
Probably not in Newton South. I was actually very careful that I didn't want my kids to sort of define themselves through athletics. I didn't want them growing up saying, I'm a soccer player, I'm a hockey player, because I guess I realized that part of their identity ends at some point. Mm-hmm. It could be at 12 years old, it could be at 18, it could be at 24, or it's going to end. And I was more interested in them, having success in athletics, whatever level they wanted to get to, but having sort of a good sense of self that they weren't wrapped up in their activities.
Right.
And they've all were lucky enough to play sports in college. One of them played Division I ice hockey, one played Division III ice hockey, and one is currently playing soccer, Division III soccer. And they've done well, they've done fine, and they're very well-adjusted, successful kids. Could I have pushed them to be better players? I probably could have, but the cost wouldn't have been worth it. Because I like the way they turned out. We have a good relationship. They've done really well. They've gone to good schools, and they've been successful by my definition of success.
When I'm in hockey locker rooms, particularly, but all of them. Tonight I'm going out to work with a D1 soccer team, men's. I'll always ask the boys and girls, or the young men and women, how many have been in tears in your dad's car? And it's between 40 and 60% of every room I'm in. Anecdotal, yes, but I don't know what it means. How about you? Did you get swept up in the new parenting playbook?
I didn't. Only in the sense if I look back at myself, and my kids are still younger than Scott, so I have one a sophomore at Governors, and I have one in 8th grade in Burlington, both athletes. But I think because of my path, I was never a star player. I didn't have the opportunity to think at like 14, I'm going pro. Everyone's already giving me this adulation. I was a good player, but I was just one of many in the group,
Yeah.
So fortunately, I did make it, pretty far, but I knew the grind to get there and the odds, and I just wanted to make sure that my kids weren't playing for that sort of motivation, because they'll be empty, even if they make it.
They weren't playing for adulation. They weren't playing for results.
Yeah, I spent so much time trying to get them to play for themselves. Exactly. Do it for you, not for me. I think candidly, I like most now overscheduled them and struggle with that still.
Right.
Because, like you just said, you hit the nail on the head. As far as you guys went out and played on your own, we played on our own. We played on ponds. We had so much unsupervised play. Real play. Now it's like real business at 10. A lot of these programs.
The frozen ponds are empty. The
Yeah.
playgrounds are all empty. Trust me.
And so, myself included, get wrapped up in that. And I wanted them to play multiple sports if they chose. I exposed them to them all. With hindsight, it's gotten so busy that I'd probably back off on that if I could do it over. But as far as the pressure to be the best, and similar to Scott, I used to ask him, do you want to shoot pucks? Do you want to kick the soccer ball? And I really throw the softball around in the summer with me, to get extra. But I left it up to them. I didn't force them to go, and a lot of times they didn't. And that's fine. I just wanted them to, at least when they show up, try, be a good teammate. And if they're not having fun, don't do it. Don't do it for me.
Around this rink, do you guys see some happy kids just gleeful coming in, let's have fun?
Absolutely.
I mean, what percentage of these kids do you think is wrapped around the axle a little too tight?
I think we actually have a pretty good balance here compared to most programs. Our teams are competitive, but the kids, for the most part, do have fun. I would say it's 75 to 80% are probably, playing for the enjoyment of it.
Okay.
And the others, hopefully, they'll learn to enjoy it.
Yeah.
At some point.
And I think it's our job. We really work hard at this. I mean, I'm full time. This is my profession. It's our job to coach the coaches to make sure they remember that, because we're all competitive. We get wrapped up. We want to be successful. We want the kids to win and feel good about themselves. It's a business. We want to do well and have a good product, but it's not what drives us, I think. And Scott can speak to it. He owns the business, but I know he gives me my directive to run the boys' side. We want to do well, but we want to develop the kids and make it a good experience. And, the coaches are competitive, and sometimes they get wrapped up in it, and we have to, remind them when they're in the, the heat of the fire. Remember, this is about every kid, not your top 3 kids. And let's develop everyone and make sure, a year from now, 2 years from now, you look back on your coaching. You're not going to be like, oh, I didn't play these kids as much. We won some game in November in 2018. Like, is that going to make you feel good about the coaching you're doing, and we work hard to hire the guys that get that. And if they don't, it's not for everybody. There's guys that come in here and women that say, no, I want to win the state championship. I want to be 88-0 and blah, blah, blah. Maybe that's not for, maybe we're not for you. Maybe we have more of a balance there.
Do you have people that don't want to have this? They want to, they go someplace else because they want their 11-year-old to win. Be part of
I think we try to take sort of more of a longer term view of it, both season to season and over the course of someone's career. Figure if we get good players and we get good coaches and we coach them correctly, you should have a good team by the end of the year. So, play them, develop them all, and hopefully the results at the end will be what you want. It might not be that way in September, but by March you get the results. And same thing, if a kid comes here at age 9, leaves here at 18, there's a lot of growth that goes on there. You don't necessarily want to be the best 9-year-old. You want to be the best 18-year-old by the time you're done.
Yeah, if the goal is to keep playing this game and go to college. When you think back, people around New England know your name. You won the Hobey Baker, played it out. What are both of you, your most important memories from the game of hockey? You probably still play, knowing Scott, but what are your most important memories from playing between the ages of 8 and 25?
I think what I remember most is the people that you played with, and some of the crazy things that happened along the way. And there's a few games here and there that are memorable. Maybe a major disappointing loss, or a game you were way behind, you had a major comeback. But a lot of those details sort of go away. It's the personalities and sort of the lessons you learn along the way that stick with you.
What as the host, I got to ask you, what lessons did you learn? And we'll ask Bobby.
I guess, I seem to remember losing a lot of big games. Getting to them, which is hard in itself. I lost two NCAA championship games. Never made the finals in the Beanpot. went to 2 Olympics. The games we had to win, we didn't win. But there were also this, and then people say
Tap that mouse. Make sure the thing's still going. Yeah, sorry.
People say this player can't win the big game. Well, there's a lot of big games along the way just to get to the big game, right? And not many people do actually win at the end. In college, one team ends the season as the winner.
But those Harvard teams didn't lose these games because we got emotional and we weren't the better team
No,
that day.
there were other good teams, there's other good
Right?
players.
That's
yeah.
what I'm saying.
We made 4 years in the NCAA tournament, 2 years in the NCAA final game, and we didn't come through. But and you know what? I'm still here. And I still enjoy the game. So it's disappointing at the time, but I think having the disappointments along the way makes the success better as you go. You appreciate it more. Sometimes I see these professional athletes that put a super team together and they win, and it's sort of like, well, what's the point? You're supposed to win, but like the guy that stays with the same team for 15 years, when they win, like that means something.
I couldn't agree with you more. Yeah. I mean, we don't want to ask Bobby, but it's a society of chasing outcomes. There's no question. It's everywhere in society. Well, tell us about the lessons that you learned.
Well,
did you beat up on Harvard? Did you guys play each other?
No,
not at that time.
We weren't as good as them back then. But the biggest lesson, I haven't played so long. There's not a guy I know that I played with that's old like me now they don't talk about in 92 we won this game like in the quarterfinals. They talk about all the guys they played with and the fun, like the memories of the people. I think Scott did. I would assume it's in every sport. I know it's in hockey, but as you get older, the guys that play it, even especially even pros, they don't talk about specific games. They talk about the guys and being around the guys and in the room and being part of a team and like making those sacrifices. And it's like. It's like Scott said, I think just listening to him, I started thinking about my own. And the losses and those hard times are probably what bond you together more. Like you really, because you have other people that you really respect, trust, went to battle with, like to be there for you too. So it's disappointing on an individual level, but having fought through those successes and failures, I look back now at my whole career. And even as kids, I get with my high school buddies and we talk about youth and this team, but as more just on a personal level, on a relationship level, not on we went down a Cape and beat this team. Like I don't even remember. I couldn't even tell you what my records were, what we won. Other than maybe like Scott won, I think a couple of national championship in youth, or at least multiple states. But you'll remember those. But do you remember every detail? No. But the guys you played with and the fun you had.
I think when guys retire, one of the things they always say is the thing they'll miss is like the time in the locker room, the time with the guys. And one of some of my most vivid memories are, especially at higher levels when there's like press involved and there's other people involved, is like the 5 minutes in the locker room after the game's over, before anyone else gets in there. So win or lose, you go back to the locker room and it's just the team, and you just played for 60 minutes or more, and you prepared for that, you played it, you got the outcome, and you have like 5 or 10 minutes together, right? And then they open the locker room and other people come in, press come in or whatever. But that 10 minutes is just like crucial to the memories, because half the time you're probably disappointed, the other half you're very happy. But that's what sort of bonds together. And almost every athlete that retires says, that's what I'm going to miss. I'm not going to miss the wins, certainly not going to miss the losses. But you're going to miss the camaraderie in the locker room. And
Are we losing that? Are we losing that magic though? That's what I.
Sorry, yeah, that's what exactly what I was going to say. We're talking about pros and guys that played and women that played a long time and look back, like they're pulling. The parents, us, the adults, are pulling that out of the kids at a young age. Most of if not all of these kids aren't going to get to those levels. So like, they should be enjoying that now. But now they're treated like pros almost, and they're missing where the focus is. And I think that is the biggest issue. Like the kids should be hop in the car after practice and tell their father, maybe mother, yeah, my slap shot got better today or whatever. That's great. It should talk hockey if they want, and it's the kid can direct it. But you want the kid to get in and go, that was awesome. Yeah, we had a relay race and my team won, and like that's what you want, I think, And I met new teammates today. It was our first practice. I really like this kid, and that stuff's so gone. It's about you're winning, who you're playing with, what's your record, what line you on, and who's on the power play.
So how do parents? Because we want to wind this up. What advice would you give to these people behind that camera, to parents at this rink? What concrete advice would you give?
I would say the biggest thing is just try to enjoy the day to day. Sort of try to live in the moment more and not worry about what's coming up in a month or what's coming up at the end of the season or next season. A question I was asked a lot as I was sort of finishing the playing career is, was it always your goal to play in the National Hockey League or to play in the Olympics? And my honest answer was no. I never had that goal.
Really?
I never thought I'd be good enough to play in any of that. Like I was worried about making a team this year, and then next year, and then next year, and then all of a sudden I get to high school, and I'm like, well, I'm actually pretty good. And then colleges would call, and like it was at that point, it's like, hey, I'm pretty good. But I had zero expectations from the time I was 6 years old till I was probably 15 of doing anything with hockey.
Really?
And I think now it starts right from the beginning. And
so that's overwhelming for a 10-year-old.
Yeah. If I had never gone on to play after high school, I don't think I would have been disappointed because I never expected to, right? Now a lot of these kids expect to be in the NHL when they're 6. So 99% of our population is disappointed with how their sports career ended up.
And that's what we call outcome fever. I'm super worried about the outcome of what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And it gets in the classroom too. I got a C+ on my AP something exam.
Well,
my life's over.
Yeah. Jeff, you could probably speak more of this because this is what you do. But my opinion of that, development-wise, you don't ensure that it's going to happen by doing that. The more you press for the outcome at a young age, I think the less successful you're going to be because it brings in so many other things. Like my advice to parents would be, and I try to do it myself, is back off. Like it's the kid's thing. You're supporting them. You're not directing it. You're not an agent. You're not, a GM of wherever you want them to be, a college coach. Like it has to be kind of organic. The kid's got to love it. He has to. When you get to good older ages, there's going to be a lot of commitment, sacrifice. If you're sucking it out of them at 8, do they have anything in the tank at 15 when they're actually pretty good and it really counts now?
And psychologically, as I'm trained, if you look at it when they're 15, now they have to perform well.
Yeah.
You come to rinks and the people watching practice, and you can tell. So if they have a bad game, psychologically, it's not good for the individual kid, right?
Yeah.
And then even if they make it, I know a NHL agent, I forget his name in Rhode Island, but gets calls all the time. I haven't scored a goal in a couple of nights.
Oh, yeah.
And my guy's like, so what? But you can't say so what to a kid who's been programmed to, it's the outcome fever.
Yeah.
It's a thing.
Yeah.
And we don't necessarily have the language to talk about it. That's why I like that term.
Well, and if it helps, because people want what's best for the kids. I want what's best for my kids. I want them to be good at what they choose to put their energy into. But what I'm saying is, I only have limited control over that.
Right.
It's them.
Right.
They're going to rise to where they rise if we allow them to.
When I told that story about playing Rompage, there's another story I like to tell. When I was 11, I heard B.B. King, the late, great blues guitar player and singer, on the radio. And I heard him, and it stirred my soul, which is probably what hockey might have been like for you, skating on ponds up in Burlington. You loved it, right? So you guys kept playing it. Next day I said, Ma, I need an electric guitar. God rest her soul. She said, really? Why? I said, I heard a man named B.B. King on the radio, and I want to do that. She said, all right, let's go. We'll get you. We were, thank God, able to purchase a guitar for $80 or whatever, and I've been playing it since. So you need to make room for inspiration, right? Room for what the child loves. And it's hard as a parent, I suppose, in these crazy day and time. But any final remarks?
No, personally, I just think that's a hard thing to do. It's something you have to manage as a parent. Myself, I'll speak again. You got to catch yourself sometimes because we're passionate. We're competitive. Like, I want what's best for them. We're older. We can see, well, if you don't go out and practice, if you don't go out and do your homework, you're not going to get a good. So we push. But there is a balance there.
There's that sweet
And this
spot
is-
balance.
And let them have fun. Let them come to you and say, I want more. And enjoy it, because it's going to be over like that. And the reality is 99% of them aren't probably going to get to where you think they are when they're 8. And that's okay. That's okay, because you still have an unbelievable experience and great memories, and you develop along the way. Then it's a success.
And ultimately, the kids have to be satisfied with what their outcome is.
That's
It
right.
doesn't matter what
Yeah.
what I think or what I wanted. It's what they wanted from it and what they got from it. And if those two things line up, that's successful.
And that's a hard pill to swallow for a parent, right? It doesn't matter what you want, Mrs.
Right.
O'Leary.
Right.
It's not about you. That's a hard pill for a
Yeah.
parent to swallow, I think.
Yeah.
The word parent means to lead forth. I looked it up. The word coach comes from an Hungarian word for carriage. You're taking the kid, coax. You're taking the coach and bringing them on a journey. You're a parent. You're just leading them, and then you get out of the way. It's the get out of the way part
It's
that
hard.
I think's getting
It's
hard.
hard.
Yeah, and I'm not, like, a lot of it is coming from the best interest. They're
Right.
trying to do the best. Like, it's not, very rarely do we see a parent that doing that to make themselves, prop themselves up, It's really, usually with good intention, but it just gets so out of whack.
It's out of whack.
And that's hard to buck that and not get sucked in. It's hard, because you feel like, oh, am I not providing my kid the same? But in
It's
a
a
way,
keeping up with the Joneses thing, but in a way,
your kid will be better off not going down the road that everyone else is, and let them drive that bus themselves with support. Those are the kids that are going to flourish, I think.
I think you're right. Thank you, Scott and Bobby. Scott and Bobby have agreed to produce the podcast closing theme music. So, oh, did you not bring the
No,
instrument?
not next time.
Thanks.
Hey, we put too much into sports as a youth. I wish I played an instrument.
But thanks for watching, and part 2 will be coming, God willing. Thanks for watching.
Thanks, Jeff.
Say bye, boys.
See you next time.
Can you hit that button?